Welcome and thank you for joining the channel. Please help this channel by liking and subscribing. We really appreciate it. There are no ads on this video. If you have a scary story you would like me to share on this channel, comment below and your story will be featured in a video. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy these creepy encounters with the paranormal, accompanied by rain and thunder. Mom, I heard Erin's muffled cry coming from the second floor of the house. She continued calling for me until I went upstairs and found her standing in the attic doorway. "What's the matter?" I asked. "Come here." She frantically motioned for me to follow her up in the attic, which I did. When I got to the top of the attic stairs, I saw Eileen, the younger of the two, standing next to the old steamer trunk. Erin walked over and joined her. "Look what we found," Eileen pointed. I walked over and looked into the trunk. When I saw the skeletal remains inside, I did my best to hide my surprise. "It looks real." Eileen reached into the trunk and removed one of the skulls. It was yellowed with age and covered with bits of dried flesh. I snatched the skull away from her, tossed it back into the trunk, and slammed it shut. "It's not real," I insisted. "It's just some old Halloween decorations." "How come we've never used them before?" Erin asked. "Because they're broken." I had to think quickly. "That's why they're in pieces." "Oh," Erin replied after accepting my explanation. "Now come on." I motioned for them to leave the attic. "You know, you're not supposed to be up here." "Can't we still use the skulls, Eileen?" The more imaginative of the two asked as we descended the stairs. "We can put them on the porch next to the pumpkins." "No, we can't," I replied, ushering them out of the attic as fast as I could. Once I gotten the girls back into their room, I went downstairs and called my husband. "What's wrong?" he asked. "We have a little situation here," I said. "What do you mean?" I explained how Eileen and Erin found the trunk full of bones in the attic, and how I lied and told them that they were some old Halloween decorations. "I thought you said you got rid of them," I snapped, more out of frustration than anger. "I was going to," he insisted. "I just haven't gotten around to it yet." "Well, you better do it tonight," I demanded. "Why? If the girls think they're Halloween decorations, why don't we just leave them where they are? They're safer up there in the attic than anywhere else." "What if they tell someone about them?" I pointed out. "We can't risk that kind of scurrility." "I hadn't thought about that," he acknowledged. "I'll get rid of them as soon as I get home tonight." On second thought, I suddenly had a better idea. Maybe we should just pack up and move on. Find another couple to mimic, I suggested, preferably one without children. When we first took over the forms of Erin and Eileen's parents, I thought being a mother was something I really wanted. But now I'm not too sure if that's what I really wanted or not. I sat at the cafe. My focus was on the door, on the man who'd be walking through it any minute now. He was late. Typical. I must have really bad luck. All of the men I've met were always late, but patience was my virtue, and tonight, he was worth waiting for. I knew what I wanted the moment I saw his profile picture. Those perfect blue eyes, bright, sharp, and piercing. They stood out against his otherwise forgettable face. "Sorry I'm late," he said, sliding into the chair across from me. Traffic was a nightmare. "No worries." I could afford patience. As we exchanged pleasantries, I studied him, taking off the checklist in my mind. His skin, pale, but a bit rough. No, I'd pass on that. I had smoother skin already. His jaw, decent, but nothing special. The one I had now was better. Thin lips. Thin, unremarkable. His eyes. I wanted his eyes. They looked even better in person than in his profile picture. The conversation droned on, and I paid great attention. I smiled, laughing at the appropriate moments, leaning in just enough to keep him hooked. Caressed his arm on few instances. Men were easy. A touch here, a glance there, and they thought they were special. thought they were in control. Maybe we could continue this somewhere else, I suggested, leaning in. His surprise was visible, but only for a second. Men were predictable. They never said no to such offers. Sure, he replied, trying to keep his cool. I'd love to. Of course he would. He led me to his car, unlocking the door with a soft click. I climbed in. It would be quick. It always was. As he fumbled with the keys, I reached out, running my hand down his arm. You're different, you know, I whispered, letting my words curl around him. I think we could have a good time. He grinned, all nerves gone now that we were alone. I was hoping you'd. I smiled back, wider this time. Too wide. My jaw unhinged, opening wide. His eyes went wide, those lovely blue eyes, just as I lunged. Desperate screams, drowned by the crunch of his bones as I tore into him. Gnashing, ripping, blood gushed over my tongue, rich and metallic, as his body convulsed beneath me. I devoured him piece by piece. When it was over, I exhaled, feeling the change wash over me. My reflection in the rearview mirror shifted. The pale blue eyes now stared back at me, cool and perfect. They were now mine. I blinked once, twice, admiring the way they caught the light. They suited me. I stepped out of the car, having changed into a fresh dress. Things always got messy, so I always carried a change of clothing. A woman from across the street was locking up the store. Her hair was long, soft-looking, a rich chestnut brown and silky. I licked my lips. Yes, I would need that next. She used to walk in heels. Most girls creep up on you, not her. She clicked her way into my heart. I still remember them. They were red, with daintily done bows. I remember them because she was the most beautiful, most confident while wearing them. My peeks from my desktop were never noticed. After all, I was just one among her many admirers, though I did imagine some looks filled with longing thrown casually in my direction. And those were my sole reason for staying on that place. No one dared approach her. Not that she couldn't be approached. Her smiles were as genuine as her warmth, and she was always ready with greetings and then required small talk. She wasn't known as Sunshine of the office for nothing. But no one approached her because she was in love with a dead man, hopelessly. Tragically in love with the man who'd promised her the world and had left suddenly, leaving her alone. She still wore the engagement ring given by him, white gold with carefully set diamond. The entire office had gathered at their live and studio apartment when the news hit. A place not big enough for her shoeboxes was littered with casseroles and dishes. I saw her throwing most of them away. The next day, she brought the picture of her dead fiancé to the office to set up at her desk. And it has been there ever since. The talk was she wanted to wear his ring around her neck too, but couldn't find it, no matter how hard she tried. Even today, I wish I had told her that I had taken mine to the jeweler to get her name engraved on it just before the bus hit me. The candlelight flickered as the kids nestled into their sleeping bags, wide-eyed and waiting. I adjusted my voice, trying to sound as scary as possible. Have you ever heard of Shoelace Face? I asked, letting the name hang in the air like an omen. He was once just a boy, but life has a way of twisting even the sweetest faces. His name was Noah, a bright boy, loved by his mother, but his father, I let my words linger. He had a thirst for darkness. They lived in a rundown house on the edge of town. Every day was a gamble with that man, but Noah hoped he'd turn sober that Halloween night. He didn't. Noah had dressed up as a superhero, excited, bubbly, for a night of trick-or-treating. His mom beamed with pride as she tied the cape around his shoulders. His father pulled up, wild-eyed, swaying in his seat, the scent of booze heavy in the air. I leaned closer, lowering my voice. As Noah climbed into the car, he giggled, showing off his costume, but as they sped down the dark road, his father lost control. The car veered violently, and Noah's laughter turned into a startled gasp as the world outside became a blur. Suddenly, the sickening crunch of metal shattered the night. When they pulled Noah from the wreckage, his face had been crushed against his own twisted feet, a haunting image forever etched in the minds of those who witnessed it. Even the paramedics could hardly look at him. The hard impact had left terrible marks. His face, once bright and full of life, was now a grotesque reflection of his former self, bearing scars that seemed to whisper his father's darkness. Noah didn't stay a boy forever, but the trauma had warped him into something unrecognizable. When he was released, they had to change his name. No one called him Noah anymore, but no one called him by his new name either. They would only ever whisper the name they had given, Shoelace Face. He became something worse after years of more abuse, this time from strangers, and now they say he roams the streets on Halloween night, moving unnaturally in the dark as if his limbs were strung together by the shoelace of his own misfortune. He searches for children who dare to laugh, who dare to stare. When he finds them, he takes them and leaves behind a twisted reminder of his own legacy. Their giggles turned to uneasy whispers, and if you look closely in any car mirror, sometimes you could see his mangled face sitting right behind you. Suddenly, my phone buzzed, shattering the tense. Unknown number. I opened the message. A picture of a child in a superhero cape, blood on his face dripping to his shoes. I froze. Then, all the candles blew out simultaneously, plunging us into darkness, and all I could hear was the soft sound of shoelaces dragging across the hallway floor.